Welcome everybody to Felix's small machine engineering workshop. In this video I want to present to you where my work of experimenting with a welding system for bandsaws went. People who saw my preceding videos, there are about 7 of them, those circuits that I explained there are now neatly packaged in this yellow box here. I've got a red button for welding and a green button for annealing. The heart of this box is a microwave transformer which I've modified. The manner how that's done can be seen in the preceding videos. Top here we can see there's a cooling fan that sucks air into the top and then blows it down, and the resistors sitting on heat sinks basically have like a little bit of an angle which angle them out at the bottom. And I've opted to operate the system as a two-piece system. As you can see, I've got it here in my vise. My vise is loose now, but normally it's mounted on the bench, and then the system sits as I'm illustrating here. I just find that works like really well for me. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take these main cables off, and I'm going to show you the welding, call it a tool or a jig, a little bit closer. Now I want to be clear here, this is not a system that I want to sell as a system to people. Like when I look at the cost of welders for bandsaw blades, they're quite high, but if I actually take the time, the hours that I've spent in manufacturing the system, I can see why they are so expensive. But I do think for the person who is a bit in a position like me, who maybe once in every 2 months needs to weld one bandsaw blade, I think this could be a very viable system. So just to first show you this box complete, it's obviously got the 2 welding wires coming out and then the mains in and a fuse. So it's very simple. When you plug this into the mains, the fan starts running, and when you push the red button, it's welding power, and if you push the green button, it's a reduced amount of power which gives pretty good results in annealing. Like for annealing, one just ends up having to sort of like do a bit of pulsing to control the heat, but the rate of heating with a annealing button is significantly slower than the red button. I mean, these things, an example of a weld taken place that can be seen on my preceding videos in this playlist, and the same goes for the annealing. So therefore I'm not repeating it in this video. Let me just put this out of the way. What I do want to get into a little bit more is this jig. The bandsaw blades that I'm welding, they've got a width of 13 millimeters and a thickness of 0.65 millimeters. My particular bandsaw length is 1,470. The blades that I have experience now welding with, they're all carbon steel blades. So at this time and point, I do not have any experience yet welding bimetal blades, but the carbon blades work very well. And I want to give you an overview how I go about with this. So basically on each of the top of the jaws here, there is a track milled in here, which is roughly 1/2 millimeter deep, and that's what actually keeps the blade into place. And then if you look here, if I take my hand and I put it around this tool and go to the back, I can actually put my one finger over back here. This is a spring system. So if you look again, I put my hand there and I pull it. And this is how I can, when I set the blade up, I can actually set it. Now, for interest's sake, anybody who would want to build this, if I take a baggage scale like this and I hook it onto the system, then I measure a spring tension of 16 kilos. So that's 16 kilos. I initially tried it with a lesser pressure and that did not work. So I think 16 kilos is quite the right thing. So getting back to now, we've got the system ready. We're setting up the bandsaw blade. What I then do is take my hand and I pull this jaw back and I put a dowel in here which has got 4 millimeters in diameter. And then I set the blade up. Essentially what that does then is it means that after I've taken the dowel out, when I push the welding button, then this jaw travels 4 millimeters towards the fixed jaw. And that seems to be quite a good number. It works very, very, very well. Then once I've done that, to anneal the blade, I'll loosen it again. I pull this jaw all the way back and I put a dowel of diameter 8 millimeters in there. And I then move the blade so that the weld is more or less in the middle. I then again tighten everything up and take the dowel out. Then I operate the annealing button, and the way I operate the annealing button, that can also be seen in one of my previous videos in the playlist, where everything's still like a little bit raw and rough and ready. Once that annealing is done, then obviously one has to clean it up with a Dremel or a little tool grinder or something like that. And that system, that way of doing it, seems to work really, really well. So, you know, again, to end off with, I'm not trying to actually say I'm going to make the system for everybody, but I do believe that for people who have a need to weld bandsaw blades and have got some time to spare, which they can do a system like this, it's helpful. Again, it's using microwave transformer that's been modified, and the way that's been done can be seen in my previous videos. The material here is phenolic or Tufnol, and basically I've just machined come milled like a space in your pocket where this jaw runs into, and then put some slots in there for the longer screws, and I created this spring system on the back. There are some more little movies about the system on my miniature machining Facebook page if anybody's interested. Thank you very much for watching.